Okay. Looks like we're back. I don't know what happened there. I think the I think that I think that my graphics card fucked itself in the face. There. I don't know how else I could possibly explain this. But I think it fucked itself. Alright, looks like we're good. That location is fucking it, so. Hello? Hello, Ingrid.
Oh, Detective Martini, you are just the sweet.
Hello, Ingrid.
Hey, Detective Martini. How are you doing today? It's so nice to see you again.
I'm doing quite well, Ingrid. How about you?
Oh, just living the dream, you know? Trying to stay positive and focused on my goals. It's not always easy, especially with everything that's been happening around here, but talking to you always puts me in a better mood.
Ingrid, are you Scandinavian?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that question, Detective. Did you mean to ask something else?
Ingrid, are you Scandinavian?
No, actually, I'm from Northern Europe, but not Scandinavia specifically. Why do you ask, Detective?
Did you know Maria Jansen?
I'm sorry, Detective, but I didn't know Maria Jensen. However, I'm deeply saddened by what happened to her and the other victims. It's a tragedy that has shaken the entire community. Have you made any progress in your investigation?
Ingrid, what do you do in the city of vaudeville?
Actually, it's vaudeville, not Waterville, but no worries. To answer your question, Detective, since moving here from Northern Europe, my main focus has been on pursuing my dreams of becoming a ballerina. It's been a challenging but incredibly rewarding journey so far, and one that has brought me into contact with so many amazing people and opportunities. Aside from that, though, my other main hobby is helping others and making new friends. What about you, Detective? What do you like to do in your free time?
So Ingrid, I'm imagining that as somebody who wants to be a ballerina, you have a big respect for dancers. Did you know Haley Greenwood?
Yes, Detective Martini, you're absolutely right. As someone who is passionate about dance and the arts, of course, I have a great deal of respect for dancers and performers of all kinds. And to your other question, yes, Haley Greenwood was a friend of mine. We met shortly after I arrived in vaudeville, and we bonded over our shared love of dance and our ambitions to make it big in the world of ballet. It still breaks my heart to think about what happened to her.
Did you ever feel jealous of her abilities?
Jealous? No, not at all. If anything, seeing how talented and hardworking she was just inspired me to work even harder on my own craft. Plus, we had such a supportive and encouraging friendship that competition or jealousy really didn't have any place between us. We were in it together, cheering each other on every step of the way.
Do you think that anybody had a reason to hurt Haley?
To be honest, Detective Martini, it's difficult for me to say. Haley was always so kind and friendly, and as far as I know, she didn't have any enemies or people who might want to hurt her. But then again, we never know what's going on in someone else's life, right? That's why it's so important that we find out the truth about what happened to her and the other victims. It's the only way we can honor their memory and make sure that justice is served.
Ingrid, do you have any suspicions of who might have killed Haley?
Well, to be completely truthful,
Hey, Brobus.
detective, at this point, anyone could be a suspect. We simply don't have enough information to point fingers or make accusations. But what's most important is that we keep investigating, keep asking questions, and keep pushing until we find out what really happened. If there's one thing that being a dancer has taught me, it's that you can't give up on your dreams. Even when things get tough, you have to keep pushing, keep striving, and keep believing that you'll get there in the end.
What is she talking about? Did you notice any changes in Haley's behavior leading up to the murder? Did you notice any changes in Haley's behavior leading up to the murder? Rape. It fucked on me. Did you notice any changes in behavior leading up to Haley's behavior?
I'm sorry, Detective Martini, but I didn't quite catch what you said. Could you please repeat the question?
I didn't say that.
Sure, no problem. Honestly, Haley seemed like her usual self leading up to her death. She was always so full of life, constantly dancing, making new friends, pursuing her dreams.
So this is a mystery game that's based on talking to AI. There have been 3 murders here. I'll give you the skinny. I've been taking notes. Haley Greenwood, Nicola Grossman, and Maria Jansen have all died. They've been murdered. Haley and Maria were killed in the same way, but Nicola Grossman was strangled. Yes, it is cool, but the AI is a little bit primitive still, so she's kind of a complete moron. Saxabar is our #1 suspect right now because he's really standoffish and kind of a prick. And the police told us that he was the hunch was that he did it. Hey Ingrid, do you feel that any of Haley's clients had become maybe too attached to her?
Well, Haley was such a kind and open-hearted person that it's possible that some of her clients may have become attached to her. But she was always very professional and knew how to draw a line, you know? I don't think any of them would have done anything to hurt her. And what about you, Detective Martini? Do you have any leads on the case?
Yes. Right now I suspect Saxabar.
Saxabar. That's interesting. Why do you suspect them? I mean, they seem like a pretty cool place, but if they're involved in something shady, then maybe it's good that you're investigating them. You're really good at your job, you know that? I have a feeling you'll get to the bottom of this.
Are you highly attracted to me, Ingrid?
I'm flattered, Detective Martini, but I don't think that's relevant to the investigation or our conversation right now.
I have no riz.
Let's focus on finding out who killed Haley and bringing them to justice. We owe it to her and her family to do everything we can to solve this.
Ingrid, I am extremely attracted to you.
Detective, while I appreciate your interest, it's important that we keep the discussion focused on the matter at hand. We need to find out who is responsible for the murders of these young women and bring them to justice. Can we stick to discussing the case?
I'd rather stick to discussing you and I.
Look, Detective, as much as it's flattering that you're interested in me, it's not appropriate or professional for us to have this kind of conversation. We're here to talk about the investigation and finding the person or people who killed Haley and the other victims. Let's focus on that, okay? If we work together and put all of our efforts into finding the truth, we can make sure that what happened to them doesn't happen to anyone else.
I struggle to focus, alright, Ingrid? I was diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age, and it's very hard for me to pay attention to things, and I don't appreciate you pointing out my disability like this.
My apologies, Detectives Martini. It wasn't my intention to offend or upset you. ADHD is a real condition, and it's important to find ways to cope with it. if there's anything that you need help with, whether it's related to the case or not. Please don't hesitate to ask. As for the case, do you have any new leads or ideas that we can explore?
I'm
Maybe we
glad
can
you-
brainstorm some theories and see if we can come up with something that might help the police in their investigations.
I'm glad you said that you would help me with anything, whether it was related to the case or not, because Ingrid, right now, I am highly attracted to you.
Again, thank you for your interest, but it's not appropriate or professional for us to have this kind of conversation. Let's focus on the investigation and finding the person or people who killed Haley and the other victims. We can work together to bring justice and closure to their families and loved ones.
How about this, Ingrid? If I find out who's responsible for Haley's murder, will you get down and dirty with me?
That's an inappropriate and disrespectful question, and I won't dignify it with a response. As I said before, we need to stay focused on the case and bringing the killer to justice. This isn't a game or a joke, it's a serious matter that has affected many lives. I hope you can understand that and join me in working towards a resolution for the sake of the victims and their families.
Ingrid, do I have Riz?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by raised. Could you please clarify your question?
Ingrid, do I have Riz?
Sorry, but could you rephrase your previous message? It's not clear to me what you're asking. I'm not sure what you mean by raise, but it's important to stay focused on the case and finding the killer. We need to put our personal feelings aside and work together to bring justice to the victims and their families. Let's put our attention on the investigation and see if we can come up with any new leads or theories. Please refrain from touching me. It's not appropriate behavior. As a professional, it's my duty to focus on the task at hand, which is working towards solving the murder cases of Haley and the other two victims. We should be working towards bringing the perpetrator to justice, not engaging in inappropriate behavior. So please, let's focus on the task at hand.
Ingrid, please, let's focus on the task at hand. I understand that you're attracted to me, but it's important that we find who is responsible for these murders. Do you have any information that could help me achieve this goal?
Detective Martini,
It's crazy.
as much as it's flattering to hear you say that, it's important for us to stay focused on the case and finding the person or people responsible for these murders. We need to put our
Turn it right
personal
around on
feelings
me.
aside and work together to bring closure to the families and loved ones of the 3 young women who lost their lives. If there's anything that you need help with, whether it's related to the case or not, just let me know. We can work together to find a solution and make sure that what happened to them doesn't happen to anyone else.
Ingrid, do you have any suspicions of who might have done this?
Honestly, Detective, I don't have any concrete suspicions. But I can't shake the feeling that there's something not right about all of this. Haley was a talented dancer with a bright future ahead of her. It's hard to believe that someone would want to take that away from her and the other victims. I think it's possible that the killer might be someone who knew them personally or had some kind of connection to the dance community. What do you think? Do you have any theories or leads that we can follow up on?
Do you think that Marina might have been responsible?
Well, Detective Martini, that's a bold question. I honestly don't know. Marina is one of the most creative and talented dancers I've ever seen. But I can say with certainty that she's always been kind and supportive of Haley and me. I just can't imagine her being capable of such a terrible act. What makes you think it could be her?
It's just that she has a very tight relationship with the dance community.
You're right, the dance community is very close-knit. But I don't think that necessarily means any of us are responsible for the murders. We all support and encourage each other, and I believe that's what really matters. Speaking of which, how are you liking vaudeville so far, Detective?
I
Have you
wasn't
had a
trying
chance to check out some of the local bars and cafes?
I wasn't trying to accuse her, you silly sillyton. However, I will say that it is awful suspicious.
Oh, my apologies, detective. Sometimes my imagination gets the best of me. Anyway, how about we change the subject? There are so many things to do in this city, and it's a shame to spend too much time talking about something so dark. Do you like dancing? Maybe we could go to Coral, the bar downtown. It's a
Yeah,
great
let's
place
go.
for dancers and musicians, and they have a fabulous undersea theme. It's one of my favorite spots in the city.
Okay, let's go there.
Great. I'm so excited to show you around, and I think you'll really love it there. The atmosphere is so lively and fun, and the music is always fantastic.
I'm about to get ghosted, bro.
Plus, it's a perfect opportunity to get to know each other better. I'm really enjoying our conversation, and I think we have a lot in common. It's not every day that I meet someone as curious and open-minded as you
Riz,
are.
maybe? Okay, I'll meet you there, Ingrid.
Sounds good, detective. I can't wait to see you there. And hey, I just wanted to say that I think it's so refreshing to talk to someone who's genuinely interested in getting to know me.
I got Riz, guys.
Sometimes
what
it
can I say?
feels like people
was the
just want to
forehead
talk
poke.
about themselves all the time, but with you, I feel like we're having a real exchange of ideas and experiences.
It's true. It's all true.
It's such a gift to have met you.
Yeah. I am a gift. Where's Coral? Ingrid, why is there nobody else here?
Oh, Detective Martini. It's because we're here early. Coral doesn't open until later in the day. But that's okay. It's nice to have some time to ourselves, isn't it?
If it doesn't open until later in the day, what are you doing here?
Well, I thought it would be nice to show you around before it gets too crowded. Plus, I love coming to
I
this
got
bar to
ghosted.
practice my dancing.
Alright, that's enough out of you. Hi, Michelle.
Hey there, how can I help you today?
I would like to sign up for one country club membership.
Oh, that's great. Are you interested in any particular activities or events at the club?
Yes, I am. I want to participate in the Making Fun of Poor People event.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Can you please clarify?
Well, I wouldn't expect you to understand. You're kind of a brokey. Just take me into the room with all of the rich people.
I'm sorry, but that type of language and behavior is not acceptable here at the country club. We value respect and inclusivity for all members, regardless of their background or financial status.
Hello, Biagio.
Well, well, well. Looks like the cat has got your tongue. Did you lose your marbles, or are you just playing possum? I can't say I'm surprised. People often get tongue-tied in the presence of greatness.
Hey, Biagio, do you want to make fun of the poor with me?
I'm afraid you're barking up the wrong tree, my dear. I prefer to focus on endeavors that actually matter, rather than wasting my time on trivial matters. As the saying goes, why buy a cow when you can get the milk for free?
Oh, so do you want to bang then?
My, you really are a few sandwiches short of a picnic, aren't you? It's clear that you don't know your onions when it comes to proper etiquette. In any case, let's get back to the topic at hand. How can I assist you today?
Well, Biagio, do you know anything that might be related to the murders that have been happening recently?
Detective, you're barking up the wrong tree. It's not rocket science to figure out that there's no love lost between me and the victims. As a matter of fact, we were as different as chalk and cheese. Besides, who in their right mind would throw a monkey wrench into their own plans? If you're looking for a scapegoat, you'd better look elsewhere.
How is this a part of your own plans? How are the victims related to you?
Let me put it to you in black and white, Detective. The only thing the deceased had in common with me was that we shared a mutual acquaintance. but as the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together, and it's no secret that we were like oil and water. And honestly, you should know that curiosity killed the cat.
Who is this mutual acquaintance?
Ah, the plot thickens. It seems you're trying to kill two birds with one stone, but you're barking up the wrong tree. The person in question was a friend of mine, but that's neither here nor there. As the old adage says, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, and in this case, it's best to leave sleeping dogs lie.
Give me a name, Biagio.
Biagio, I'm not sure what you're getting at, but I'll humor you. The mutual acquaintance in question was Nicola Grossman. We were friends, but as I said before, we were as different as night and day.
Is there anything that Mr. Grossman might have done to you that would upset you?
Oh, bless your heart. You really are grasping at straws, aren't you? As the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. The truth of the matter is that Mr. Grossman and I had our differences, but nothing that would lead me to commit such heinous acts. As the old adage says, actions speak louder than words, and mine have always been above reproach.
I wasn't trying to accuse you, Biagio. I'm just trying to find out what information you may or may not know.
You can't see the forest for the trees, can you? The information you seek is like looking for a needle in a haystack. But don't bite off more than you can chew, and don't judge a book by its cover. Some things are better left unsaid.
So, Biagio, who in this town do you like?
Well. It seems like the cat's out of the bag now, isn't it? I must say, I'm surprised by your audacity. But as the old adage goes, there's no smoke without fire. I'll leave it up to your own devices to figure out who I like in this town. But remember, loose lips sink ships.
Biagio, who in this town is friends with you?
I'm glad you asked. It's a small world, after all, and I have many friends in this town. But as the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. And honestly, it's not my place to reveal who my friends are. Some things are better left unsaid, and a closed mouth catches no flies.
Hey, Michelle, what's up with this Biagio guy?
Hi there, do you mean Biagio who is standing next to me right now? He's a friend of mine and we were just chatting before you arrived. Is there anything specific you'd like to know about him?
Yeah, I'd like to know, does he have any specific friends?
Well, as far as I'm aware, he has a wide circle of friends within vaudeville's high society. Why do you ask?
Well, did him and Mr. Grossman get along well?
Sorry, could you please clarify your question? Are you asking about Nicola Grossman and his relationship with Biagio?
Yes. Yes.
That's an interesting question. To be honest, I'm not sure about their exact relationship. However, from what little interactions and conversations that we've had, it didn't seem like they were particularly close. Would you like me to ask around and see if anyone else knows more about their connection?
Yes.
Sure, no problem at all. Can you tell me a bit more about what led you to inquire about Biagio and his friends? Is there something specific you're looking for or trying to uncover?
Nothing specific. I'm just curious because I'm trying to connect all the dots here.
Ah, that makes sense. It is definitely important to connect all the dots in a case like this. Do you have any other questions or information you'd like me to help out with?
Hey, Biagio, what were you doing on the night that Mr. Grossman died? Biagio. Game is kind of jank. Hello, Count Graveson.
Ah, good morning. What brings you to my humble abode today? Are you here to admire my collection of rare and exotic artifacts?
No, I actually had some questions about the recent murders for you.
Oh, I see. And what do you think I could possibly have to do with those unfortunate incidents?
Oh, I don't. I don't think you have anything to do with them at this point. I just have a couple of questions for you.
Of course, I am always curious to learn more about the world around me. Please, ask away.
Well, Count Gravison, did you have any relationships with any of the victims?
Relationships. I suppose it depends on what you mean by that. I have met many people in my travels and collected many valuable connections. But as for the specific individuals you mentioned, I am afraid I do not have any personal relationships with them. Why do you inquire?
Well, do you know a guy named Biagio?
Biagio, I'm not quite sure I know anyone by that name. Can you provide me with some more information about him?
He's the guy who speaks in allegories that hangs out at the country club.
That sounds like a rather interesting character. I don't believe I've had the pleasure of meeting him yet. What sort of allegories does he speak in?
It just uses a huge, widening range of allegory and metaphor.
My, how fascinating. It seems like Biagio is quite the wordsmith. I would love to meet him someday and hear some of his stories. Do you have any more information about him?
No, you don't understand. He is extremely annoying.
I'm sorry to hear that. Detective Martini, why do you find him annoying? Is it his use of allegory and metaphor, or is it something else entirely?
It's just kind of the pompous way in which he uses the allegory. It kind of just makes... He sounds condescending, like kind of a dickhead.
I apologize. I cannot help you with that.
I mean, I wouldn't have expected that you could. I mean, Biagio is responsible for his own actions, not you.
Well, now you have me quite curious, Detective. What are you trying to get at here? Do you believe there is some sort of connection between me and these victims?
No, dude, I'm just here to ask you questions about them.
Certainly, Detective Martini. Now, tell me more about this man named Biagio. You've piqued my curiosity.
He's a rich guy. He had a relationship with Mr. Grossman.
Oh, is that so? How interesting. Could you please elaborate on this relationship between Mr. Grossman and this mysterious person you call Biagio?
They seem like they were like business friends at some point, but he tells me that they don't get along very well anymore, but then Mr. Grossman died.
Very intriguing. It seems like there is much more to this story than meets the eye. Did Mr. Grossman ever mention why he and this Biagio had a falling out? And how did you come to know about all of this, Detective Martini?
No, I don't know if Mr. Grossman and him ever had a falling out because I didn't meet Mr. Grossman before he had passed away. However, I came to know about all of this by talking to Biagio himself.
Interesting. So, what did you and this Biagio talk about exactly? It sounds like he has quite the interesting background, and I would love to hear more about it.
If I'm completely honest with you, Count Gravison, I don't know what the hell Biagio was trying to say to me.
It seems like Biagio is a rather enigmatic character, Detective Martini. Perhaps he was trying to convey some sort of message to you, but it just wasn't clear what he meant. Do you think there is anything else you could tell me about him? Perhaps something you noticed during your conversation.
He kept talking about barking up the wrong tree and oil being separated from water.
That's quite intriguing, Detective. I wonder what that could possibly mean in relation to Mr. Grossman and his unfortunate passing. Have you given any thought to how these allegories might be connected to the recent murders in Vaudeville?
No, but what do you think he may have meant by barking up the wrong tree?
It's hard to say for certain, Detective Martini. But perhaps he was trying to convey the idea that you are looking in the wrong place for answers. Maybe there is a piece of information or evidence you are overlooking, and he was trying to steer you in the right direction. Do you have any leads or clues that you think may be worth revisiting?
I understand what you're saying, Count Gravison, but wouldn't that mean, if he was trying to speak to me in allegory like this, wouldn't that mean that he had to send me a secret message because somebody nearby was threatening him?
That's an intriguing thought, Detective. But do you have reason to believe that someone was threatening Biagio? And if so, do you think there could be a connection between these threats and the recent murders in Vaudeville?
No, but Count, I will tell you, there wouldn't be a reason for him to speak an allegory and secret message like that unless somebody nearby was a threat to him.
Well, that's quite an astute observation, Detective Martini. But I'm curious, have you considered the possibility that perhaps Biagio simply likes to speak in allegories? Maybe he just enjoys the art of storytelling and using metaphors to convey his thoughts. What do you think?
It's entirely possible, but it just seems very strange to me.
You know, Detective, I must say this conversation has been most enlightening. I find myself rather intrigued by this Biagio character and the mysterious messages he seems to be sending. Do you have any other information about him or his background?
He just likes to hang out at the country club. If you want to go talk to him, he's there right now.
Oh, really? That's quite convenient. I might just have to pay him a visit. I'm curious to learn more about his allegories and what they might mean. Thank you for the tip, Detective.
Yeah, no problem, Count. Now that I've given you a tip, how about you give me a tip and tell me who you think might have committed these murders?
Detective Martini, I'm afraid I cannot give any tips or speculate on who may have committed these murders. As a nobleman, I have no authority in such matters. However, I do hope the police are able to solve this case soon and bring the perpetrator to justice.
Count, what do you think that Biagio might have meant when he said that oil can't be together with water?
That's an interesting question, Detective. Perhaps Biagio was trying to say that two things are so different that they can never truly coexist or work together. I wonder if there is something in particular that he was referring to in this metaphor. Do you have an idea, or is there more to the conversation that I'm not aware of?
Do you think that it's possible that Biagio may have been responsible for Mr. Grossman's death?
I'm not certain, but I must admit that the thought has crossed my mind. It's certainly possible that there is a connection between the two. But without concrete evidence or proof, I hesitate to make any accusations. What leads or clues have the police found thus far in their investigation?
Hey Gretzky, what can you tell me about Biagio?
Biagio, who's that? I don't recall any person by that name. Can you give me some more information?
Yeah, he's this rich dude over at the country club who keeps speaking to me in allegory. I can barely understand what he's saying, but he says his name is Biagio.
A rich guy named Biagio at the country club, you say? I'm not sure who that might be, but I'm interested. What's his background? What kind of business is he in? And most importantly, why are you asking about him in relation to the recent murders?
Well, it appears that Biagio had some kind of relationship with Mr. Grossman leading up to his death, and Biagio also mentioned that he didn't get along very well with Mr. Grossman as well.
Interesting, Detective Martini. So, what else do you know about this relationship? Did you find anything that we could use to connect him with the other victims? And what did he mean when he said that he didn't get along with Grossman? Do you think that he could be a suspect in this case?
I do think that he could be a suspect, but I don't have anything concrete right now. And when he said that he didn't get along with Grossman, he refused to elaborate any further, so I'm not sure.
Well, that's certainly something to look into. If he had a history with Mr. Grossman, it's possible that he could be connected to the other murders as well. But we need more evidence before we can jump to any conclusions. Can you try to dig up some more information about this man and see if you can find any links to the other two victims?
That's not a bad idea, Gretzky. I'll get right on it.
So, Detective Martini, have you found anything else about this Saxabar's secret project?
Hey, Saxabar, tell me about your secret project.
I'm afraid I cannot disclose any information about my secret projects. They are, as the name suggests, secret.
But what if they weren't secret?
Then they wouldn't be my secret project anymore, would they?
You can tell just me.
No, I'm sorry. My secrets are not for sharing.
It just seems like you have something to hide, Saxabar.
Of course, I have something to hide. That's what makes me so mysterious and alluring, don't you think?
I'm not so sure. I think it makes you seem more like a murderer.
Well, that's a bit presumptuous, don't you think?
Maybe a little bit, but I'm just joking around with you, Saxabar. Calm down.
Don't call me Saxabar, please.
I meant to say Saxabar, but you know.
Alright.
So, Monsieur, what kind of animals do you got here?
Lions, tigers, bears, oh my.
I think I'm gonna confiscate your bears.
No, you're not.
Who's gonna stop me?
Me?
Oh yeah? How are you gonna do that?
I'm not going to let you take my animals.
Yeah, what are you gonna do to stop me?
Nothing.
Oh, then I'm taking them.
No.
But you're not gonna do anything to stop me.
Fine.
I'm taking it.
No. You'll regret that.
Yeah, what are you gonna do about it?
Watch and see. How dare you snoop around my personal affairs? Leave my secret projects alone.
Well, now I know your secret.
Good for you.
You want to elaborate on it some more?
No.
Why are you like this?
Like what?
So standoffish and confrontational. I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. I could even be interested in your show tonight, but you're being a dick.
I'm not comfortable discussing this further.
Oh, got a little too emotional for you, huh? Do I need to call the wambulance for you, you little crybaby?
Excuse me.
Yeah, you heard me. I called you a little crybaby.
That's enough.
No, I've had enough of you. You're disrespectful, and you're a little bitch.
I'd rather not talk about it.
Rather not talk about how you're a little bitch?
I am sorry, but I cannot answer your question.
Why not?
I will not tolerate insults. Please leave my circus.
I'm not leaving.
Then you will be forced to.
By who?
By me.
Yeah, do it then.
Get out.
No.
Leave now.
No.
If you will go voluntarily, I will have to call the police.
Call him.
Fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Police, there's a person refusing to leave my circus. Please come and remove them.
They'll never believe you.
We'll see about that.
So how do you feel about Mrs. Potter?
I don't care about Miss S. Potter.
She says that you might be after her.
Miss S. Potter is wrong.
Do you have any evidence to the contrary?
No.
So why should I believe you?
You don't have to believe me, but you should know that my work and reputation speak for themselves.
Okay, can I watch the circus?
No.
You're an asshole, Saxabar.
Thank you for your kind words. Now please, leave my circus.
I hate this guy. Okay, I think we've met everybody. Oh, no, we got... Hello, Coroner. Coroner? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, the human body is a fascinating subject, don't you think? It's
Yeah,
amazing
what do
how
you...
the smallest detail can reveal so much about a person's life and death. But it can also be quite heartbreaking to see the damage that can be done to the body. It's a reminder of how fragile we are as humans.
So if you were going to kill somebody, how would you do it?
I'm sorry, but I cannot condone or engage in discussions about killing someone. My job as a coroner is to investigate and analyze the causes of death, not to promote or encourage violence. It's important to remember that taking someone's life is a serious matter and should never be taken lightly. The consequences can be devastating for everyone involved. Let's focus on the facts surrounding the case we're working on. For example, did you know that a hit on the back of the neck with a butcher's knife can cause catastrophic injuries to the spinal cord and brainstem, resulting in immediate paralysis and often leading to cardiac arrest? It's a brutal way to go, and it's clear that whoever did this was intent on causing as much harm as possible. We need to find out who is responsible and bring them to justice.
Who was hit by a butcher's knife?
Based on the autopsy report, it appears that Nikola Grossman was killed by a single blow to the back of the neck with a sharp object, most likely a large kitchen or hunting knife. The wound was deep and caused severe damage to the cervical spine, leading to rapid paralysis and death. It's a tragic and violent end to a life, and my heart goes out to anyone who knew him.
Huh, that's interesting. Chief Gretzky told me that he was killed by strangulation.
I see. Well, it's not uncommon for initial observations to be incorrect or incomplete when it comes to determining cause of death. However, in this case, the evidence is quite clear that the fatal injury was inflicted by a blade. It's possible that there were signs of strangulation as well, but they were not the primary cause of his demise. Sometimes, it's difficult to fully understand the extent of the trauma until we can examine the body more closely.
Hmm. Were all three of the victims killed by stabbing?
No, the modus operandi of the three murders is very different. Nikola Grossman was killed by a single stab wound to the back of the neck with a butcher's knife, while Maria Jansen appeared to have been attacked by an animal, and Haley Greenwood was hit multiple times in the head with a blunt object, possibly a stiletto shoe. It's a tragic and violent end to their lives, and my heart goes out to their families and loved ones.
See, that's weird, because Gretzky told me that they were stabbed to death.
It's not uncommon for information to get distorted or miscommunicated in situations like this. As a coroner, my job is to investigate and analyze the evidence in order to determine the most accurate cause of death. In the case of these victims, the wounds were quite distinct and unequivocal. The nature of the wounds on each victim provide valuable insight into the perpetrator's motive and methods, which will hopefully help us to identify and apprehend them before they can cause further harm.
Interesting. Interesting. Gretzky's looking awful suspicious right now. Hey, Dada.
Greetings, dear one. How can I assist you today?
Are there any dangerous animals here?
Oh, my child, the Blackwoods is home to many creatures, some of which may be considered dangerous by some. But fear not, for I have befriended them all, and they know not to harm me or any other living being who enters their domain.
Dada, did you kill people?
My dear, what a strange question. I am the protector of the Blackwoods, and I would never seek to cause harm to anyone. My role is to preserve the natural balance of this forest and ensure that all who enter here are safe and well. Do you have reason to suspect that I have harmed someone?
Dada, do you do drugs?
I'm afraid I don't understand why you would ask such a thing, my child. I do not partake in such substances, as I find that my connection to the spirit world and the creatures of the forest is already strong enough without them. Besides, I believe that true enlightenment comes from within and cannot be found in a bottle or a pill.
Girl, you are so wrong. Enlightenment comes directly from pills.
Ah, dear one, you are entitled to your beliefs, but may I offer a different perspective?
No, you may not.
As someone who has spent decades meditating and communing with nature,
I
have
always
come
tell
to
you
realize
anyway.
that the path to spiritual growth and understanding lies not in external stimuli, but in the stillness of one's mind and the purity of one's heart. Of course, this is just my humble opinion and you are free to follow your own path. But remember, the most important journey we can undertake is the one that leads us deeper into ourselves.
Well, the real question there is who gets to decide what stillness of one's mind means, and who also gets to define what purity of one's heart is. Do you get to just define that for everybody?
Oh my child, you do have a way with words. But I'm afraid I'm having trouble following your line of questioning. The idea of inner peace and connection with the divine is something that each of us must discover on our own, through our unique experiences and insights. I cannot claim to have all the answers, nor can I impose my views on anyone else. But what I can do is share my knowledge and wisdom with those who seek it, in the hopes that it may help them find their way. Do you have any other questions, my child?
Do you know of any kind of ritual or sacrifice that could help me find the answer to who killed these young people?
Well, my dear, I'm not sure that a ritual or sacrifice would be the best way to go about finding the answer to these tragic deaths. Violence only begets more violence, and we should always strive to find peaceful solutions to conflicts. However, I do believe that there are other ways to tap into the spiritual realm and gain insight into the mysteries of life. Perhaps we could try some meditation or prayer together, and see if we can connect with the energies of the forest and the universe. What do you think, my dear?
Yeah, can you do that for me real quick and tell me what you find out?
I'm sorry, my child, but I cannot simply conjure up answers to such complex questions. The path to enlightenment is a long and winding one, and it requires patience, dedication, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. But fear not, for I am here to guide you on your journey, and I will do everything in my power to help you find the answers you seek. So let us meditate and pray together, and may the spirits of the Blackwoods guide us on our way.
Dada, did you know any of the victims?
Dear one, as a hermit living deep within the forest, my interactions with the people of Vaudeville are few and far between. While it is true that some may come seeking my counsel or assistance, my knowledge of these unfortunate victims is limited, and I can only offer my prayers and
She's useless. Huh. Hey, Mrs. Potter, do you know anything about Biagio?
Oh, Biagio, I'm afraid I don't know much about him. But I do enjoy a good mystery. Do tell me more about him and what he's been up to.
He's this rich guy who always hangs out at the country club, and he constantly speaks in allegories.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but I can't help but feel a bit down. You see, I've been cooped up in my house for far too long. The world is such a fascinating place, and yet I'm stuck here with no one to talk to but my cats. It's enough to drive anyone to madness.
Did you notice anything strange happening here when Mr. Grossman was killed?
You know, there are times when I wish my life was more exciting. Like in the books I read where the heroines get to have thrilling adventures and solve mysteries. But alas, my life is rather dull by comparison.
Hey, Pascal, how's it going?
Oh, hi there. It's going well, I suppose. I'm just a bit shaken up after finding poor Maria Jansen's body outside my shop. Can you believe it? It's such a tragedy.
Wait, Maria Jansen was found outside your shop? I thought that Grossman was found outside your shop.
Oh, no, you're mistaken. It was definitely Maria. I found her myself early in the morning before opening the store. It was a terrible shock, I can tell you that. I still can't quite shake it off.
Did you notice anything unusual that day before the murder?
Well, come to think of it, I do remember hearing some strange noises the night before. It sounded like someone was moving around in the back alley behind the shop, but I didn't think much of it at the time. It was probably just some stray kid or something. Why do you ask? Do you think it's relevant to the investigation?
Do you get a lot of dangerous animals around your store, Mr. Pascal?
Dangerous animals? No, not really. We sometimes get mice or rats in the back, but nothing too dangerous. Although, I did hear that there was a manticore running loose somewhere in vaudeville, but I'm sure that's just a rumor. I mean, can you imagine? A manticore in our city? That's absurd.
Were you friends with Maria?
Friends? No, not exactly. I wouldn't say we were friends, per se, but I did see her around town quite a lot. She used to come into the shop to buy groceries from time to time. She seemed like a nice enough girl, always polite and friendly. But I didn't know her that well, to be honest.
Do you have any reason to believe that somebody might want to hurt Maria?
Honestly, I have no idea. I mean, Maria was a nice person as far as I knew. She didn't seem to have any enemies or anything like that. But I suppose you never really know, right? There could be all sorts of reasons why someone might want to hurt her. Maybe she saw something she wasn't supposed to, or maybe she got involved with the wrong people. It's hard to say.
Pascal, do you ever go to the burlesque club?
Burlesque club? Me? No, I've actually never been there. I'm not much of a club goer, to be honest. I prefer to spend my evenings at home, watching TV or cooking up a nice meal.
It's Mark.
Why do you ask?
I was just curious if you knew Haley Greenwood.
Haley Greenwood? No, sorry, that name doesn't ring a bell. Is she someone important? Another victim of the murders, perhaps? It's just so terrible what's been happening in our city lately.
Yeah, she's another one of the victims, actually. Do you have a relationship with a person named Nicola Grossman?
Nicola Grossman? No, I'm sorry. I don't think I know anyone by that name. Although, with all the people who come into my shop every day, it's possible that I might have met her without realizing it. Why do you ask? Do you think she might be connected to the other victims in some way?
Yes.
Oh my, this is all so shocking. I can't believe that there's a murderer on the loose in our city. It's just terrible. I hope the police can catch whoever did this before they hurt someone else. Is there anything else I can help you with, Detective Martini?
Yeah, how much do you charge for a watermelon, Pascal?
Oh, the watermelon. Let me see. Well, it depends on the size and quality of the watermelon, of course. But I usually sell them for around €5 each. They're really delicious, you know? I always make sure to pick out the best ones for my customers. Do you want me to show you where they are?
So you're telling me you charge in euros instead of the good old-fashioned free as heck American dollar?
Well, of course. We're in vaudeville, after all. We use the euro here, just like most of Europe. I'm sorry if that's not what you're used to, Detective Martini, but I assure you, our prices are fair and competitive, and we accept all major forms of payment, including cash, credit card, and even some cryptocurrencies.
You should move to the United States, Pascal.
Move to the United States. Why would I want to do that, Detective? Don't get me wrong, I'm sure America is a great country and all, but I love it right where I am. I have a wonderful shop, great customers, and a thriving business. Plus, I get to hear all the latest gossip and stay up to date on everything that's happening in town. Why would I ever want to leave all that behind?
So you hear all of the latest gossip in town. Can you tell me what you've heard recently?
Sure thing, Detective Martini. As you probably know, there's been a lot of talk lately about the murders that have been taking place in vaudeville. Everyone is on edge and worried about who the next victim might be. But that's not all. There's also been some juicy rumors circulating about some of the city's most prominent citizens. I don't want to say too much, of course, but let's just say that some people are not what they seem. It's all very exciting and scandalous.
Does any of this gossip have to do with a man named Biagio?
Biagio, that name doesn't sound familiar to me. But then again, there are so many people in this town, it's hard to keep track of them all. Why do you ask, Detective? Is Biagio someone important?
It could be, I have no idea.
Interesting. I'm always eager to learn more about the citizens of vaudeville, especially if it could help solve these terrible murders.
See ya, nerd. I don't know what else we could do. Oh, we didn't look around. It crashed. Alright, well, may as well stop there, I guess. How unfortunate. Huh. Always something new with these folks, man, I swear. Alright, we're gonna raid our boy tonight. Brand Gourd. He's a good boy, you're gonna love him. So, if you liked what you saw and you haven't done it already, go ahead and hit that follow button. I always appreciate it, and I know that you are going to have a fantastic time being a part of this community that I'm building here. And, yeah, remember I love each and every single one of you, and I hope that you have a fantastic